Hello, you're listening to Living Beyond Limits, and I'm your host, Marcy Langlois. Have you ever intended on having one more beer and found that you're still at the bar an hour later? Or have you noticed that every night you just can't seem to stop after one glass of wine? Or perhaps you've thought to yourself, oh, maybe I do have a problem with drinking. If you've ever worried about your relationship with alcohol, you're not going to want to miss this episode. Today, we're going to explore how you can evaluate if you indeed drink too much. Over the last 20 years, people have often asked me, how can someone know how much is too much to drink? What I've learned may help you better understand your own alcohol consumption, or maybe even the drinking habits of someone that you love dearly. Let's dive into this tough question. If you're wondering if you drink too much, first of all, I'm so glad that you're here. You're asking the tough questions, and I want you to know that looking at your relationship with alcohol can feel incredibly intimidating, scary, and even bring up a sense of shame. I know it wasn't easy for me to take a serious look at my own drinking, but just try to stay with me here. Be patient. Let's set aside some of the emotions for a second, and let's just take a look at the facts. So I went out and did some research to see what the experts are saying about alcohol consumption. Here's what I found. The National Institute of Health has published their recommendations regarding alcohol consumption. Their recommended dietary guideline is this. Women should drink a maximum of 1 drink per day. Men should drink no more than 2 alcoholic beverages a day. Let's go a little deeper though. The NIH also defines what heavy drinking is. Now, if you're a woman and you're consuming more than 4 drinks in one day or more than 8 in any given week, the NIH would consider you a heavy drinker. For men, if they consume 5 or more drinks in one day or exceed 15 in a week, they hit that same criteria, heavy drinker. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people who drink at or above the NIH's definition of heavy drinking. But let's not look just at the data. Let's look at a reality. When I was deep in my addiction, did I think that sitting at the bar and putting back 4 glasses of wine on any given night meant that I had a problem? No. I did not think that, not for one single second. And in fact, if someone had said that the ideal consumption for me because I'm a woman was 1 drink a day, I would have said, get real. Now, since we know reality and medical guidelines don't always line up, let's file this away for now. We know those are really just a general guideline, and those are just to put some framework into our discussion today. But maybe that data doesn't give you the clarity that you need or you were hoping for. Maybe you, like me, think that you can sit and have 2 drinks a night without it being a problem. But honestly, friends, you're here asking the question for a reason, right? The most important consideration that you can make about whether or not you drink too much is how you, not anybody else, but you, how you feel about how much you drink. So let's take a little bit of a closer look and see what things you can explore to examine whether or not you drink too much. For a long time, I considered that the way that I drank to be completely acceptable, even though the way that I was drinking wasn't acceptable in any way. I was lying to myself in order to keep going. I was drowning in denial. I made excuses as to why I was drinking. I told myself I was drinking to have fun or because I was at a social event. And that's what people do there. Well, the truth is that I knew that I had a problem with drinking long before I was willing to admit it out loud. I was trying to convince myself that I had control over my drinking. No matter how much I tried to convince myself that everything was fine and my drinking was normal, my actions were in complete opposition. I was a bar drinker and would go to the bar every single day. Every day on my way there, I would tell myself, 2 beers and that's it, and you're going home. 3 hours later, and 8 beers in, my wife would be calling and asking, when are you going to be home? I could hear this terrible disappointment in her voice. Not only had I let myself down, but I let my family down again. I missed dinner and family time. There came a point where my drinking was no longer enjoyable. Drinking became a daily necessity for me, rather than someone who just typically would come home from work, have a glass of wine with dinner, and call it a day. I was drinking because the pain of not drinking was more than I could bear. I couldn't face reality, and drinking was what allowed me the illusion of feeling like I was escaping it. I drank in massive excess daily. I woke up hungover every single day. I felt miserable all day long. And then I had to drink to feel better. And I missed out on my life because I was too busy drinking. I wanted to quit. I tried so many times, and every time unsuccessfully. I put all these parameters around my drinking in order to try to coax myself into quitting. I'm only going to drink on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Or I'm only going to drink beer. Or whatever, right? Insert what you've lined up for yourself that didn't work. I tried all these parameters around my drinking, and none of them were successful to help me quit. Here are some things, though, that you can do if you want to understand if you're drinking too much. So the first one, stop. Try to just see if you can stop drinking for 30 days. Just pick a day and say, okay, that's it. I'm not going to drink for 30 days, and just see how that goes. What happens? What changes in your life? Do you crave it? Do you miss it? Do you find it hard to be in social settings? Do you find that in social settings, it's difficult to be out, or maybe that you have social anxiety now that you aren't drinking? Or do you find it difficult to be home alone and not drink? Just notice what's showing up for you when you're in a different situation. Notice how you feel, what you think, and if you're having cravings or not. All of this is a fact-finding mission for your own personal inquiry. So the more aware that you can be and the more honest you can be with yourself, the more information that you're going to get to indicate what's really going on for you. So number 2, this one's going to feel maybe a bit tough for you, but you've already done the hard work of asking yourself some questions. Now you need to look at things just a bit deeper. Really get honest with yourself, because there's no one in your mind and heart right now but you. Answer this question just for yourself. Have you had family members or close friends mention to you that they're concerned about your drinking patterns and habits? Possibly that they provide examples to you of times when they felt like you went overboard? I know that happened for me, and I did not want to listen to anybody. It was so painful to hear this. I could not hear them. I couldn't hear the care and the concern in their voice. I just felt like I was being attacked. And that's because I was stuck in denial. So I couldn't hear beyond that. I couldn't hear beyond the denial. Looking back, though, these were pretty clear indicators that things were getting out of hand for me. How about for you? Have you been approached with this difficult question? Were you able to be open to the care and the concern, or were you just stuck in denial? The third and final way you can test your relationship with alcohol is to ask yourself, are you living in accordance with your personal values? Not only when you're drinking, but especially when you're drinking. At the end of the day, when I was able to get honest with myself, I took a long, hard look at the way my life truly was. Did I show up for my family? Did I keep my word and my commitments? I had to get honest about these things. And the answer to those questions for me was no. I wasn't living the way that I wanted to. My entire life was a huge disappointment at that time. Every area, every box I could check, all disappointing myself. I had a really strong moral compass, but I found myself doing things that I swore I'd never do. For example, I never wanted to be someone that would drink and drive or be intoxicated around my daughter. But there I was, in spite of my own values I had put in place for myself. I broke each rule that I had set for myself. This misalignment with my own moral compass and behavior was finally a huge part of getting my attention to stop drinking. Can you take a moment and take a deep dive and ask yourself some or all of these questions here? How does your life look? How are you showing up in your life for your friends, your family? Are things measuring up with your own personal standards? Are you a good employee? Are you showing up when you say you're going to? These answers to these questions can only be answered by you, but they are very enlightening to the discovery of self. All right, take a deep breath. We've asked a lot of really hard questions. So to sum it all up, by the numbers, do you drink more than is healthy for you? How do the people that you care about feel about your drinking? And last but not least, you're here listening for a reason. Consider that. Do you worry that you've got a problem with alcohol? If you're still listening and still thinking the answers to these questions mean you have a drinking problem, I'm here to reassure you. There are things that you can do right now, today, to move your relationship with alcohol into a better place. There's hope. Here's what I found that helped me. 1, reach out for support from an expert, such as a certified addictions counselor or therapist. If that feels too formal to you, then check out different recovery forums online, maybe 12-step meetings, smart recovery, or even perhaps a recovery center. Do whatever is necessary to get a support system to make changes in your drinking habits. 2, de-stress your life. Find the areas of your life that are causing your stress or keeping you up at night, and what are the actionable steps that you can take to change the things that may be driving you into seeking relief from alcohol. And then 3, find someone to be honest with. For me, initially, it was just my wife and then my family and some close friends. I had to lay out all of my cards on the table with people and let them know, hey, this is the real deal. I have a serious problem with drinking. I had to explain how serious my situation had gotten and let them know that I could not continue this way of life. The way that I was drinking was literally going to end my life. I had to get honest with the people and really ask for people to hold me accountable. Let them know that this is a decision that you've made and that you're no longer interested in drinking and that you need to stop and that you need their support to do so. People were so fantastic when I approached them this way. People were wonderful in every single way. They checked in with me to ask how it was going and what I needed. Making a commitment out loud to these people and asking to be held accountable is huge. Having some form of accountability in your life with whoever feels safe to do that with is a really great step. There's so much scientific research out there that shows that when you're trying to make changes in your life, that if you have an accountability partner, the likelihood of success increases massively. I would encourage you to find somebody that can do that with you and for you. Friends, looking at the current reality of your circumstances can feel overwhelming. However, this could be the beginning of something amazing and incredible. For me, it absolutely was life-changing. There is hope and there is light at the end of this tunnel. The first day that I quit drinking felt terrible. It was awful, so difficult and hard. And I didn't know if I was going to make it through. And I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. But I got to tell you, here I am almost 21 years later without a drink or a drug and living this incredibly amazing life. There is always hope, regardless of where you're starting from. You can reach out to me for a confidential consultation, a listening ear, or just send you along some resources. I've been there and I understand. I know how hard it is to turn this ship around. This may feel like a liability to you currently, but it has been honestly one of the greatest journeys I have ever taken. I want to support you in whatever way that I possibly can. My goal always is to help you be aiming to live beyond any limit that you may have. Thank you so much for listening today. If you found something that I've shared today helpful or interesting, maybe even fascinating, please share this with your friends, family, and colleagues. Feel free to contact me on my website at marcylanglois.com if you'd like to take me up on the opportunity to connect. Until next week, find me on social media for daily tidbits and keep aiming to live beyond limits. Have an incredible week.